Sharadji, tell me something. There is a lot of course, discussion about whether what Yogi Adityanath is doing is right or not. But then the public perception, whether it's him or the Deputy CM or others, the way I think the kind of assurance that they are giving the public ki ना सिर्फ मिट्टी में मिला देंगे कि वो पाताल में भी होगा तो उसको खींच कर ऊपर ले आएंगे. Do you think that it is time there is an assurance? It's not like it's a deaf and dumb administration. Would you agree that they are on a kind of a right track?
Well, one criminal less is always something to be welcomed.
Yes.
And hail the cops for doing it. But there is certainly, it doesn't go without serious questions being raised on the conduct of the police. Because after all, there is a rule of law. There is a system of criminal justice. You have to follow that. Unfortunately, in Yogi Adityanath's regime, that has been set aside, which is also a perception of a whole lot of people. While I would also welcome one criminal less, anyhow it has been done, it is not to be debated. But when it happens today, it happens with them. But when you have a list of almost 180 encounters, and a whole lot of them which have gone into the past in his first stint as chief minister were highly questionable. They were mostly petty criminals. Not even 20% of them were hardened criminals, mind you.
Right.
And so, if you are targeting somebody, then it is not done. And then you have to be fair. You should not discriminate. Unfortunately, in this case, the UP police has been rather selective. And I don't think there can be any dispute about it. Because there are, every political party in this country, unfortunately, and more in Uttar Pradesh, where the Congress, it was started by the criminalization of politics started by the Congress.
Right.
Whether it is Samajwadi Party, whether the BSP, whether it is the BJP and the present regime, they all extend patronage to a number of hardened criminals. So if you protect somebody and you target somebody else, then there are bound to be people are bound to make all kinds of allegations. And in this case, that is the reason when they say that it is only the Muslim criminals who are being targeted, while there are a whole lot of Hindu criminals who are going unscathed, which raises question. And there are a long list of people, but some of them are members of parliament in every political party, including the BJP, and like Mukhtar Ansari, some of his business has gone to a notorious criminal who is a BJP leader. So, if this kind of thing goes on, then it becomes the top man has to be questioned. And you have to be very fair in dealing with crime. The criminals have no religion and should not have any religion or caste and should not be looked at it. But in this case, as is being said today, that this suspicion is being aroused that these fellows were already in the police net and they were waiting for an opportune time. These are stories that have come up. I'm not saying that they may be authentic, but they have some meat in it. That they were picked up, kept by the police, and they were waiting for an opportune time. And today is an opportune time because UP is going for urban local bodies elections. And this is going to send a message as it is. All along, UP government has been emphasizing that they have improved the law and order.
Right.
Of course, UP has publicity in its hands.
So
they can say anything and people will lap it up. But mind you, the NCRB report says, the 2021 report says, according to which the numbers that are there is a rape in Uttar Pradesh every 6 hours.
Right.
Which is no different from what used to happen in Akhilesh. And BJP tends to defend itself by raising the figures, higher figures during Akhilesh's time. We are better.
So give me a moment.
So, publicity is something else. But down the reality once again.
It's not publicity. It should not be perceived as publicity, Sharadji. You're right. You started the conversation by saying one criminal down is good news for all of us. Brijesh, tell me, 40 years you said. 40 years he was somebody. 40 plus years. He created mayhem. He created paranoia amongst people. So it is not just this government. I mean, I'm not really speaking about this government. But over the years, there's been Sapa, there has been Baspa, there have been several governments which have been ruling.
Murder of Raju Pal happened during Samajwadi Party regime.
Right.
He was shot dead. His body was not given to the family. He was last rites were performed and the body was the ashes were given to the family.
Right.
He was an MLA.
Huh.
He was not
yeah,
he
yeah,
was an
that
MLA.
MLA, yes.
Okay.
Huh.
So what I'm trying to say is that, we can I completely agree with Sharad ji. This is a point which I've raised in earlier debates as well, that there has to be a rule of law, and I think per se every single encounter, is investigated so as to rule out any kind of
Right.
foul play and all. And I've also been of the opinion that, that it is not about BJP, it is not about BSP or Samajwadi Party. It is about the most permanent thing, which is the bureaucracy. It's the IPS, it's the IAS officers. And the point is, I mean, like, I know Sharad ji will agree with me that, the Vikas Dubey encounter, which is not being tom-tommed in
Yes.
news channels as, like, as a glorified model
Yeah.
of this is how policing should be. Ideally it should not come to that level.
Yes.
But the point is that, with Atiq Ahmed, we cannot say for sure until unless, you get some solid details which emerge out of
Which
it,
is fair
or
enough.
investigative detail that he was held in captive and then killed in an encounter.
Exactly.
Otherwise, the government of Uttar Pradesh was in fact facing a lot of criticism on social media, because, when this murder happened, the government was tom-tomming about how, all the mafiosos have left the
Yeah.
state, all
Yeah.
the criminals,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
brutality and the sheer audacity with which Umesh Pal and that police officer, police Jawan was killed, it stunned everybody.
Yes, that's
so,
right.
for the government, every passing day was adding to the embarrassment. Social media was full of it, that, you're talking
Yeah.
of picking up a pickpocket or a normal gangster,
Yeah.
but when it came to Atiq Ahmed, you couldn't do
You
anything.
couldn't do anything, right? Yashovardhan Jha, I want to come to you because, my colleague Brijesh Pandey here just spoke about trained officers, the administrative framework, as it were. Now, tell me something. Sharad ji said there are a lot of questions about the method to this madness, whether it was even fair. But you being someone who's as experienced, for the benefit of the viewers, isn't it true that every encounter, which others may call extrajudicial killing, whatever they want to call it, but they are all investigated? I mean, there is a thorough investigation as to the reasons. Does that happen, Yashovardhan Jha?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, technically and legally, in fact, the Supreme Court had said that in every encounter there should be charges framed for murder. But in every encounter, otherwise, there is an inquiry by the state, and magisterial inquiry is, of course, mandatory in every particular case. You know what? Let me point out, Sudha, one thing which is very, very critical in this case. Assad was no ordinary criminal. I mean, here is a man who's done a murder openly. Anywhere in the world, if you attack a policeman is a symbol of the state, and you
Right.
gun down two gunners who are protecting somebody and an innocent man who's a witness. And if they are not brought to book, and the first thing is that you start suspecting that encounter is a killing, is a little unfair, I would say. And that's why I said right at the beginning, I'm not justifying the encounter approach. Of course, the criminal justice system, but you have seen our broken criminal justice system, where even after being in jail in Bareilly, Sudha, this man kidnapped somebody, and that is why he was transferred to Sabarmati.
Right.
Here you're dealing, what kind of democracy you have, where you have these guys as MPs and MLAs. And Pradhan Saab is right when he says that every party has to take the share of blame. And of course, if there are Hindu criminals or Hindu, they should be they should be treated in the same manner. They should be brought to book. I still remember the case of Junaid and Nasir, for example, and the investigation has been laggardly, and of course, in that case, they should be also brought to the book.
Right.
But I have no
Yeah.
sympathy for Assad or
Right.
Atiq.
Sharad ji, but I'll keep, because we've heard different narratives here, and very good ones, I must say. But the point is, it's about perception. Yes, you look at the records, maybe UP may not be doing as well as it projects itself to do. But what happened today? I'm not even getting into, like Yashovardhan said, that let's not get into the legality of how it was done. But the very perception of it is that here is somebody, here is a chief minister and his entire framework, who seem to be saying this again and again, कि मार देंगे, ठोक देंगे, ज़मीन से निकाल के गाड़ देंगे वगैरह. So I am asking you that in the situation where our hands are tied, there is a nexus between politicians, several other politicians and criminals, is this something
And the
which is
police.
good? Is this something which is positive? Because the common man will say, Sharad ji, कि हमें मारा, हमारे रिश्तेदारों को मारा, इनको फांसी होनी चाहिए.
Bilkul. As far as the common man is concerned, they, irrespective of the means, they feel that because they've got so sick of the system, the corrupt police, don't forget the corrupt police, corrupt politicians, corrupt police, the nexus between them and criminals is responsible for the society that we are living in today. And because they all get away with murder, at least in this case, even if it is for the reason that, even if we were to believe, which a lot of people do believe, that it is because Yogi Adityanath has on his target a lot of Muslim criminals largely. Even is that, yet a criminal is a criminal and he needs to be taken to to a logical conclusion, which governments don't dare to do. That is why he takes the case. And the perception about him is that yes, here is a man who knows how to deal with criminals.
Yes.
But also one cannot one also cannot ignore the fact that protection is continued to be given to hardened criminals who are in heinous crime.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people sitting in this government. There's a minister from Allahabad, Prayagraj, who was known to be having deep nexus with this fellow Atiq Ahmed. Every politician in Allahabad has had deep connections with Atiq. Atiq was the dirtiest of all people, and he has been served right. But fact is, once again, in a democracy, you have to follow a system of law. Otherwise, if we were an elected autocracy, anything would be fair.
Right.
So there has to be a system, needs to be followed. Yes, public perception will, and in this case, as I said, because elections are closed by urban local bodies, you will see the way this will be played up. UP government, by the way, it's not just perception. They know how to build the perception. The UP government spends about 3 to 4 crores a day on publicity. This is the official record. This is the official budget. So you can build any perception, you build any narrative that you want. But still, questions will be asked on the manner of how you deal with a criminal justice system.
Right.
And they should be fair, indiscriminate, not with biases.
Yeah. I saw the tweet, Brijesh, of Akhilesh Yadav, and then Mayawati also tweeted. You read those tweets and what we heard from you throughout the day on the Atiq Ahmed case, you are wondering that hypocrisy is at its worst.
Not a single individual who has even walked within 1 kilometer radius of Atiq Ahmed will disagree with what I've been saying.
Yeah.
People have no idea what he exactly was, And the point is, all these tweets are just for political gains.
Yes,
See, the point is that majority of the people, everybody is playing politics. I told you, you kill a sitting MLA, and his body is not even handed to the family. Can there be something more brutal than this, that they are not able to perform the last rites? Apart from that, the fact is also that if the criminal justice system has to prevail, the criminal justice system has to be rectified also.
Yes.
The point is that if you want to file an FIR or if you want to take your case to a logical conclusion, 5 to 10 years is a given. So when you talk of a situation, they exploit all the loopholes possible. And if when you're talking of politicians and politicians' nexus to it, the kind of nexus Atiq Ahmed enjoyed with the jail authorities and the police per se, is absolutely startling. This happened when the Yogi government was in power, when he was shifted from Bareilly to Sabarmati. If you have read the newspapers about Atiq Ahmed in the last 20 days or last 40 days, several jail superintendents have either been suspended or transferred to various other areas because Ashraf, who was brother of Atiq Ahmed, was able to hatch the entire plan sitting inside the jail, and people would come and visit and talk to him, take orders and then go back, and the entire plan was executed. The hatched, executed, everything was done with everybody knowing about it.
So
I'm saying, when you talk of system, honestly speaking, there's no system.
But then the system is made by you and me, no?
The system is not made by you and me. This is the illusion. This is the illusion which is given to you. The system is never made by you and me. The system is made by the system there, and they always protect their own turf. They never allow. You will never get the advantage of the system. They always get the advantage of the system.
That's what I want.
That includes bureaucracy as well.
Yeah, that's why I want to
includes bureaucracy, because Vikas Dubey case is that it's all right that the Honorable Supreme Court judge has given a clean chit to the police, but you have to be living in mass to believe what the Supreme Court
Sharat ji wants to react on that, and I want to then go to Yashovardhan.
I just want to point out one thing. It was not a Supreme Court judge, it was a retired Supreme Court judge.
Oh, sir, so retired Supreme Court judge. But I'm saying that you have to be living in mass to believe what he said.
No. What I'm trying to say is this is the pattern in most jails of UP, and all criminals behind who supposedly behind bars enjoy this kind of clout. There is this notorious fellow Bablu Srivastav. He could carry out kidnappings from jail for years, and he continue. Every time there is a raid in
Right.
the jail, they find cell phones, half a dozen cell phones. What happens? One day it is done, next day, because you have a corrupt bureaucracy.
That's
You
what I
have a
want
corrupt
to.
politics.
Yes, and
So
that's why
politics.
I think.
So it is happening. It is this one good thing deed has happened. One should be happy, but this doesn't mean that Yogi
Right.
Adityanath is
Absolutely.
dealing
Yeah, I want to go to
with crime in
Yashovardhan
this
because
manner.
I think, Yashovardhan, you need to step in here because, the bureaucracy and the system, which my colleague said, we don't make it, they make it. You're part of the framework, at least you were. I mean, what is so rotten with the police force, particularly in Uttar Pradesh, which also Sharadji said, if this happens, there are going to be, see, if that happens, then obviously the process will also not be followed. No due diligence then.
Sudha, to act against a mafia like Atiq Ahmed or Bablu Srivastav or Vikas Dubey or Mukhtar Ansari, no police officer can act on his own, because if he acts, he'll be kicked out in no time. Having personally suffered all this, I can tell you with great confidence that unless is the state will to take action against them, the police will not. No jailer will have the guts to oppose Atiq Ahmed's whims or fancies or diktats. It's not possible. And that is why when we talk about requisite autonomy for the police, no state chief minister is agreeable to give anything. If the IPS officers don't even have the powers to transfer their own SHOs, if every MLA, every punch, every MP is interested in the posting of DM, SP, and the Thanedars and everything, then the system is virtually privy to
Right.
the designs of the politicians who think they can dispense justice.